All right, I wasn't going to do a vlog today, but the news broke. The verdict in the E. Jean Carroll second defamation case. If anybody thinks this is justice, you are idiots, pure and simple. If anybody likes this just because of the political consequences, you are scoundrels, pure and simple. E. Jean Carroll, the woman who is, in my humble view, batshit crazy, names her cat after a venereal disease, vagina T fireball, fabricates a story out of whole cloth that occurred 2.5 decades ago, has no physical evidence of it, says that she would not file charges for the assault because when you listen to her justification, it's going to blow your mind and you're going to realize you're dealing with a crazy person.
Would you consider bringing a rape charge against Donald Trump for this? Why not?
I would find it disrespectful to the women who are down on the border, who are being raped around the clock down there. But for the women down there, and for the women, actually, around the world.
Says she's not going to file criminal charges, but sues Donald Trump civilly in New York, possibly one of the most corrupt jurisdictions in the world, wins in the first trial, and then sues for defamation in the second trial because Trump took to Truth Social to post how she's crazy, how he never met her before, how the story is a total lie, and she sues him for defamation again. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, after the first jury found that Trump did not rape her in the Bergdorf changing room 2.5 decades ago, but sexually assaulted her, such that when he denied it, it was defamation, and awarded her damages for the alleged assault and the defamation, and then she sued him a second time when he continued to deny it and protest his innocence. They had a trial. And when I say that the mainstream media is the enemy of the people, it's only because they are the enemy of the people. He had a trial in which the guilt was already a foregone conclusion, and quite literally the trial was only to adjudicate on how much he would have to pay her, and that amount came down today. But before we get there, NBC News was reporting that Trump testified. And he testified briefly. The headline reads, Trump testifies briefly in the trial. And then it's only when you go into the article and read why he testified briefly that you realize the system is corrupt, the media is corrupt, and they are the enemy of the people. He testified briefly because the judge largely restricted what Trump could say in his own defense in court. So you head into a trial in which your guilt is already determined, only to adjudicate on the damage, in which you are limited in what you can say in your own defense, in which the judge literally says you cannot say certain things, include protesting your innocence, and then you come down with a jury verdict. And oh my goodness, watching a journalist from NBC News in real time, waiting for the news, announcing the news with orgiastic glee, like the winning lottery numbers of this political lottery just came down, and she's reading it in real time. $83.3 million awarded to batshit crazy E. Jean Carroll. I think it's like $7.5 million compensatory damages, $11 million to like this defamation rehabilitation program. I don't know what that is exactly, and $65 million in punitive damages, which, from what I understand, would survive bankruptcy. Not that Trump's going to go bankrupt anyhow. Not that I think these judgment verdicts are going to stand after appeal. In any event, $83.3 million. This NBC journalist is like, oh, that's not as much as they wanted, but nothing to, what did she say, bad enough? I forget what she said. It's idiotic. You just got to watch it.
We do have a verdict. E. Jean Carroll did suffer more than nominal damages as a result of Mr. Trump's publication of these two June 2019 statements. The first amount for compensatory damages for her emotional pain and anguish is $7.3 million. The amount for the compensatory damages for the reputation repair program is $11 million. We're now moving on to the questions about whether Trump acted with malice. Remember, the questions have to be answered in the affirmative to get to a question of punitive damages. We are still waiting for that answer.
As you wait for those answers,
that Mr. Trump acted with malice. I'm sorry, Mr. Trump acted with malice in making the first of those statements. That's the June 21st, 2019 statement at 5:17 p.m. in which he denied it for the first time. And similarly, we are waiting to hear whether in making that yes. Oh! In June 22nd, 2019, he did also act maliciously or out of hatred or ill will in defaming her on that day. And here comes the punitive damages award of $65 million, Alicia. Yes! So $65 million in punitives, $11 million in the reputation repair program, and $7.3 million in in the emotional harm, for a total of $83.3 million. That's a high 8-figure award. I had predicted we'd be high 8 figures or early 100 million. Certainly less money, I think, that E. Jean Carroll's lawyers had hoped, but $83.3 million is nothing to sneeze at.
And people take to Twitter to rejoice in this decision, to celebrate in this verdict. You got Jen Psaki, who was once upon a time literally the propagandist for the government, now turned MSM propagandist mouthpiece for the government, saying, oh my goodness, this is justice. The only question is going to be, it's idiotic. You can see the tweets for yourselves. People rejoicing in this are scoundrels or morons. Pure and simple. This is literally kangaroo court, banana republic level madness, where they can find a batshit crazy person. And by the way, everybody in the media knows that she's batshit crazy. I'll play to you a compilation, a montage put together by Gravian. Everybody knows this woman is batshit crazy, but she's an easy tool for the media to exploit. Anderson Cooper. I dare Anderson Cooper not to say publicly he thinks this woman is crazier than a loon.
And it was all fairly playful.
It was charming. It was exciting. Remember what Donald Trump was like in 95, 96? On the counter were these fancy lingerie boxes that they used to have back in the 90s.
Yeah.
You wore lingerie in the 90s, I'll bet, Joy. But he didn't suggest it. He shouted it.
He shouted
lingerie. Lingerie. He may have shouted underwear. Okay.
Were you scared? Were you
angry?
Were you...
I was too panicked to be scared.
Too panicked to be scared, okay.
Totally, and I put my life on the line.
Do you think that you're going... Well, hold on a second. What do you mean you've put your life on the line?
Well, people have told me I have to be careful.
You've gotten death threats.
I am not looking at death threats. I have the idea that I'm going to make him put it on over his pants. That was my idea. Mm-hmm. You see how funny that would be to make him put that on? Yeah.
I guess my question is could there be any DNA on there?
I have no idea. I do not know if the president ejaculated. Have no idea. Lawrence, I wish I had said, I'll tell you my age if you show me your tax returns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would have been helpful now.
Well, so I'm holding my handbag like that. The only reason I know I'm holding my handbag is because I discovered it in my hand when I got to the street.
The statement that he said, which he's just made, which is, she's not my type, number one, that was the number one thing.
I love that I'm not his type. I'm an archer. I have bows and arrows, you know. Yeah, fine. I think there's just too... Never mind.
I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
We're just going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
They will use her and exploit her for all of their political purposes. They can put her in front of a jury in New York. They would convict a ham sandwich if you told them it was Republican. And this really illustrates how, historically, back in eras that were governed by prejudice, you could go to any jurisdiction that was deeply racist, deeply prejudiced, find anybody to level any charges against a specific person or a group of person, and you knew that you would find a jury to convict just based on prejudices. Racial prejudices of decades ago has now been replaced with political prejudices of today, and it's just as broken a system. So anybody celebrating this, we know how you would have been ruling on verdicts back in the day.
Here comes the story of the hurricane.
$83.3 million to E. Jean Carroll, $65 million punitive damages. And from what I understand, Trump is going to appeal. But from what I understand, he would nonetheless have to put up $83.3 million in court pending his appeal, or get a bond and secure a portion of that, pay interest on the loan or whatever in order to post that pending appeal. This is how the government seizes private property, uses lawfare in order to target, find an individual, fabricate a crime, and then basically steal the assets of that individual. You see it happening in New York under Alvin Bragg. You see it happening in New York under Letitia James. You see it happening in New York under this Judge Kaplan. In this case, it is plain, it's in your face, and this is how empires fall. You think this ends at Trump? Anybody in New York should flee New York. You think now it's going to be limited to politics. If you are politically unfavored, if you are just socially disfavored, they will do it to you because they're getting away with it now. They started with these bogus, guilty before the trial verdicts without Alex Jones. They did it to Donald Trump in the Judge Engeron Leticia James case. They did it to him here. And they just issue awards like confetti. Outrageous, insane monetary awards for damages that nobody has sustained. $7.5 million reputational damages? I'm sorry, no way. $65 million in punitive damages. Just something that you know will survive a bankruptcy so that you know he'll have to pay it. If this does not get overturned in appeal, at some point, the judicial system is gone. Pack up your bags, get out of New York, and find a state that is not totally corrupt to the core. And just one thing that I found particularly interesting, because as I was looking into this, I found an article which by the headline referred to E. Jean Carroll as Jewish American columnist. E. Jean Carroll sues Donald Trump for alleged rape. And I was like, oh, well, that's a very bizarre headline for this article. And I click on it, and the article itself only refers to E. Jean Carroll as a columnist. The article was from the Jerusalem Post from 2019, and I noticed that it happened to have been updated in January 2024, 5 years after the article was first published, 5 years later. And I had to go back to the Wayback Machine and just make sure that I'm not going crazy. And for some reason, and I can think of two possibilities, the Jerusalem Post, which once upon a time took pride in identifying E. Jean Carroll as a Jewish American journalist, maybe now is not quite so proud of this batshit crazy lady who secured a ridiculous decision out of New York. There might be other reasons even more nefarious. I won't go there. I just thought it was very curious. But the bottom line, this is a joke, but it's not funny. It's a bloody tragedy, and it's showing how the court system can be used as political tools. This is nothing shy of election interference, full stop. E. Jean Carroll exploits a newly amended law which extended the statute of limitations for civil claims for such alleged conduct. She had a pivotal role in lobbying for that legislative change. She then exploits that, being funded by highly political financiers, to take this case to a politically partisan, hack, corrupt state like New York so that she could get a verdict, so that they could run the headlines that Trump is a rapist, so that they can then get ridiculous damages on alleged defamation for a man merely protesting his innocence, saying she's crazy, I never even met her. This is communist level crap. And if you don't understand it, you are part of the problem at this point in time. That is the latest. It's bull crap. It's going to go to appeal. If it doesn't get turned over in appeal, get out of New York, find a state where you might be better protected, and make sure to protect yourself nonetheless, because they're going to come for everybody. This is going to be the go-to tool to bankrupt people, to destroy people, and more importantly, to silence people. All right, people, now I got to go eat dinner. Now you know your vlog. Peace out. Booyah!